G'day YouTubers, and thank you for tuning in to today's video on YouTube. And yes, I've still got my old computer. It was making some funny sounds a couple of weeks ago, and certainly it was a great time to clean up from like this week's Tuesday. So far, of course, it's pretty much a very good time for like cleaning up spiderwebs as well too, and all the dust bunnies and all of the other things if you've been using them in the home. You know, one thing I actually haven't realised is I actually really haven't talked about so much in the way of how computers have been cleaned up and stuff, and it really is quite a good analysation of just seeing how much I've actually have done to analyse of what was going on. What was the major problem was that there were lots and lots of dust inside. Obviously, you know, it's a good thing to do, like do it for every 4 to 6 months. You know, cleaning up these types of devices. There's been lots and lots of, you know, hair and, you know, fluff and like carpets and stuff. And obviously this area here is all carpeted. I'm off to try and find a better solution by just, you know, putting up a wooden, let's just say a computer frame, so that it actually holds the computer rather than just collecting dust. But then who cares, it just seemingly collects a lot. But I tell you what, there's a lot of that going on here. Obviously it's picked up throughout the rest of the whole summer, obviously, somehow, because obviously when you have too much fluff and dust, it can actually make your computer very, very hot. So what I should do, probably in the next 4 months or so, is try and start in top gear and try and, you know, get the whole computer cleaned up. You know, not just from here, but also from the, let's just say the other internal components, of course. What's also very interesting is that, thank goodness, the computer was not being noisy. It wasn't making any laboured noises. And obviously the grill has also been cleaned up as well. And there's been lots of cleaning up in all these sections here. If you don't know what these bits on the back, I'm going to have to probably turn the camera light on because I don't know how much. It's a bit dark somehow, but let me just show you what it's like. I've got about 3 to 4 5 hard drives inside that computer, and it's actually been performing quite well, but this computer has actually been running relatively sluggish and slow at times. And what I'm actually waiting for is I might get a new computer. And I'm not sure if that might actually work. But there are also quite a few concerns that I've just raised. Because I like using Microsoft Paint, as in like the Windows 10 version. I actually prefer the Windows 10 version rather than the Windows 7 and the Windows 10 version rather than the Windows 11 version, because the Windows 11 version, it's just rather too much, a little bit more like Procreate. That's the part I really don't like. What I actually like to see is an interface in which it actually looks more like that, rather than, let's just say, the new one. But what's even more skepticalizing is that when I use the newer version of, well, let's just say Microsoft Paint, well then it just doesn't bode well, it just doesn't very well. Somehow, the only thing I can really relate to is just how, you know, a bit quirky and a bit tacky the newer version is, whereas the old one's a lot much more better, in my opinion, because you don't rely, there's not much in the way of, like, you know, interpolation of, like, images and stuff, and when you resize images, you don't seem to interpolate whatever images you've got. So that's pretty much better, to possibly say the least. I can do heaps of other things better, at least. I can just straightforward like draw lines better and other stuff. And maybe if I'm not interested into, let's just say, Microsoft Paint, I can move into something else. And oh, by the way, I'm actually making a new animation project for November of 2024. Now, I was going to say I was going to be making an animation project around September or October. Well, I've just started now, but then I was actually very lazy, so I couldn't do an animation project for September of 2024 because I was just busy with other stuff, doing lots of arts and crafts and whatnot. But here I am pretty much totally back doing animating for November of 2024. I should actually get this whole thing done before my birthday, of course, or even in this case, before I go back to Malaysia. And just given how much time I'm doing, this is basically an airport thing, and it's also going to be quite a bit of a stormy scene because we might as well have rain in it as well too. It's not just one of the best, but hopefully it should be a bit better and concise, as somehow as I can really say. But yeah, I should straightforward look forward into putting a lot much more effort into making such a splendid job of working that little animation done. It will be pretty much done within a cinch. Believe me. Yeah, I actually do archive them in the form of like Google Map images and stuff. Actually, I was about to say it shouldn't be too bad. And that being said, it shouldn't straightforward like get things, you know, a bit caught up and stuff. If you know what I really mean, it's not that bad actually. I somehow really do enjoy making whatever it's best on MS Paint, but I might move on to like OpenToonz or Krita because I think because of what I've just said about the new versions of MS Paint, I feel like I'm just gonna straightforward turn it off and move on to something else because, yeah, it's not really what I really thought it would be. But there's actually quite a lot more things, a few things I really want to say here before I should end the whole video about this computer. And I did open up a lot of different programs like Miku Miku Dance, and I was also initially going to be doing Miku Miku Moving. But the reason I actually came along and rejected the idea because it was getting way too overwhelming to think about it, and it was also way too complicated to try and understand. I really wanted to get into like 3D animation, but then at the same time I just hesitantly didn't want to because it was just way too complex. And the fact that 3D was, you know, because my computer is relatively old, well, it takes a longer time for it to process data than anything else. But what I believe, this computer is about to be brought back to my dad and be exchanged for a new one, hopefully before Christmas, when I get back to the UK after my trip to Malaysia. Yes, and the hard drives, they will actually be retained, so there's no changes from the hard drives and stuff, only just the device. This will be my dad's conventional computer, maybe until, you know, there's some sort of revolution here that I can have more than one, but hey, we'll just see about that. Anyways, I'm just going to straightforward leave the video here. Actually, I've got bursary, because I do know I can use the bursary. I can let my dad use the bursary to try and purchase another substitute computer because that thing is just running very relatively sluggishly slow. That meant I can't play Roblox from my computer. Anyways, I shall leave the video here. If you really enjoyed this video, please give this video a good like, subscribe for more for videos in the future, and as always, thanks so much for watching, and bye for now. And oh, one more thing that the sound was creeping out of me was that fan. It was making lots and lots of horrible sounds. It was getting louder and louder with all of the dust being accumulated right inside of the computer. Thank goodness it's now cleaning